How do courts enforce the separation of powers in Congress? In recent days, the discussion around the separation of powers has gained momentum, especially with various legal challenges surfacing. The question many are asking is, how do courts enforce the separation of powers in Congress? This topic is particularly relevant as citizens seek to understand how their government functions. Courts play a vital role in maintaining the separation of powers among the legislative, executive, and judicial branches. Each branch has specific functions assigned by the Constitution. Congress is responsible for writing laws and controlling the budget, while the President enforces those laws, and the courts interpret them. When one branch tries to overstep its boundaries, courts may intervene. For instance, if the executive branch attempts to impose taxes, courts can rule such actions unconstitutional. A notable case involved tariffs imposed by the President, which were deemed unconstitutional since only Congress has the authority to levy taxes. Another important aspect is the power of the purse. When the executive refuses to spend funds that Congress has appropriated, courts may find that refusal unconstitutional. Recently, Washington's Attorney General filed a lawsuit against the Department of Homeland Security for withholding funds approved by Congress for migrant shelter programs. On matters of or powers, courts generally defer to the political branches. However, they recognize Congress's authority to restrict or terminate military actions initiated by the President. Courts maintain that unilateral presidential war powers are invalid if they contradict Congress's expressed will. The judiciary's primary role is to interpret laws and ensure that neither Congress nor the President exceeds their constitutional authority. The Supreme Court has previously struck down executive actions that infringe on legislative powers, reinforcing the separation of powers and the rule of law. In summary, courts enforce the separation of powers by reviewing actions that may encroach on Congress's lawmaking and budgetary authority. They strike down unconstitutional exercises of power by the executive and interpret the limits of congressional and presidential powers as defined by the Constitution. However, judicial enforcement can be limited by doctrines that defer to political branches on specific matters, especially those concerning national security.